aboard this aircraft, there are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Rod, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6.
Are you looking for a better way to play player props or daily fantasy sports? Well, look no further than Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the leading over-under daily fantasy game. Why? Because it's so easy to use and win. You can make your picks in under 30 seconds and win up to 10 times your money in one day. Right now, we have a special offer for our viewers and listeners of the 7-Footers podcast. All you have to do is sign up now and use the promo code 7-Footer, and Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Yep, that's right. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So, join the over 150,000 others who found a better way to play and download the Prize Picks app today.
Seven Footers gang, you have got to love the Prize Picks. How we doing over there, Jarod?
I cannot complain, man. Listen, you guys, if you're fans of our work and you checked out the segment we did earlier, we gave you the bets for tonight's TNT games. The Celtics in Brooklyn to take on the lowly and hapless Brooklyn Nets, losers of 8 straight, and the Milwaukee Bucks, defending champs, out in La La Land, trying to complete the sweep against the LA teams in, I said Staples on the thing, which, see, it's always going to be Staples to me, in the Crypto.com arena to take on the Los Angeles Lakers.
Why does it got to be .com? Who sat in a room and said, you know what? Let's name this Crypto.com arena. It's just not, when you put it on signs, the spacing, who knows? That's why I'm not in advertising, but it is what it is. It is what it is. As long as they didn't mess up my MSG, my garden.
No, you good. They ain't changing the name of that anytime soon.
Heck no, they are not. All right, guys, like you heard in the top of the episode, Prize Picks, make sure you guys get that app, use the code 7Footer, and make some money and have some fun with tonight's slate of games on TNT and throw some props. Why not? Make some money, like we said. Let's talk, because the NBA trade deadline is 2 days away as we are filming this right now on the 8th, so which means the trade deadline falls on Thursday the 10th, and there was already mega trades being made today between the Pacers and Kings. We'll get to it. We're going to break things down for you guys and tell you a little bit of what we wish these teams would do, what they need to do. Jarod's probably going to slander a few people. It's going to be real good. So now is the best time to get a snack, get a water. If you're 21 plus, grab a beverage, do what you need to do.
Get your popcorn ready, huh?
That is it, because we need to chat trades and moves around the association, Jarod, because it got a little crazy today, a little cray-cray, as the kids out there say. Do they still say that?
Do the kids? I was gonna say, do the kids still say cray-cray?
I don't think so. I
don't know.
Just made myself look really uncool. So before I get trolled on Twitter, let's start in the Eastern Conference. And we're just going to go through each conference, guys, and kind of talk about the state that these teams are in heading into the end of the trade deadline. Remember, that ends Thursday, February 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, because a guy on the Brooklyn Nets who happens to be a former league MVP is in trade rumors, reports. If you talk to ESPN, they say this is happening and they just don't know when, but it is happening. There are talks going on. Reports is craziness, and James Harden refused to answer any questions but his status of tonight's game against the Celtics, which he is out for that hamstring injury. Talk to me about what you know, Jarod, about the Brooklyn Nets and what could be happening. I say the Brooklyn Nets, even though we're talking about the Sixers, because of that trade that's dominating the news.
Yeah, so look, everyone knows that Daryl Morey, the president of basketball operations of the Philadelphia 76ers, he was the man in charge for the Houston Rockets when James Harden was winning MVPs, racking up all those numbers, becoming one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He loves James, right? James is his guy, and, he would love to have him in Philly. We do know that he tried to trade Ben Simmons last season for James Harden, okay? We know that, despite whatever he said was not true at the time. Now, The issue here is that James Harden came to Brooklyn because he wanted to be part of a three-headed monster, right, Jenna? We talk about that. Like, he wanted to play with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, for the three of them to potentially win an NBA championship. Because the problems in Houston were it was hard on him being a one-man band, although he did have Chris Paul for a couple of years, right? Like, he wanted to kind of share more of the responsibility. Well, we know about Kyrie's non-vaccination stance, and Kevin Durant is injured, and then the Nets just had a rash of injuries. In the 2 years that those guys have been together, it's really been a season and a half because James didn't come over for the full first season. They played 17 games together. No, 19 games together. Now they're 16-3 in those 19 games. So when they play, they're excellent, right? They are world beaters. You can't stop them. You know all the deal. Problem is, they haven't been able to do it. Of the available games they could have played together, I think there's like 100 and change. They played in 19. Well, that's not great. James Harden's like, I didn't sign up for this. I don't know what's up with this dude, Kyrie. So, ultimately what I think that the situation is that James doesn't want to deal with this anymore. And so he's putting the Nets on notice. He's like, look, man, you got to figure something out because I'm not down with this part-time Kyrie thing. This isn't cool. And, on Philly's side of things, what I'd love for them is, look, Daryl wants James Harden there. Philly's got an MVP season happening right now with Joel Embiid. He is, right now, it's either him or Nikola Jokic for the league MVP, right? They're just, and it's, I might wake up tomorrow and say it's Jokic. The next day I might say it's Embiid, right? I don't know. But it's the two of them,
True.
Clear cut, and then everybody else is fighting for third, fourth, and fifth. Embiid's got an injury history, right? And you don't want to waste an MVP season like this. No. We know about the Ben Simmons situation. He is not coming back to play for this team, okay? He doesn't want to deal with it. Like, we know all the things. And he is not at a place also where, just imagine if he has to come back, Jenna. What do you think when he walks into that locker room, what that's going to be like? Forget about the fans and booing. That's that's coming. You got to deal with your teammates and get them to a point where you're like, you got to apologize. There got to be a whole come to Jesus. Like, look, man, there's a lot. Him and Doc, because what's happened, Jenna, is the trust is broken. There's no trust there from either side. So when that happens, it's like a bad marriage. Time for divorce, man. When the trust is broken and it's irreparable and you cannot repair it, what are we still together for? Right? Like, right. We got to end this. So what I would love for the Sixers is for them to have some kind of resolution. Shout out to Aaliyah. We need a resolution. Rest in peace. To their situation and whatever that may be, and move on and compete with the potential league MVP.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They definitely need a divorce going on there just because, again, like you said, the trust isn't there. We get that. The relationships obviously are beyond repair at this point. But if you think about it too, just in the short, it's just this awkward situation. What happens when you're invited to a party from somebody that you haven't seen in a while? And it's like, oh gosh, how are they going to be? Are they? And then you go and they're just completely different person than you even knew. How? Why? Mm-hmm, how am I here? Mm-hmm. How did I get here? It's just too awkward now. You can't go back. You look bad. It's not a good situation. So they need to get Simmons out of there. I don't know if they're going to make a deal in 2 days, seeing as it has taken them literally, it feels like 2 years to do this, but Daryl Morey is stubborn when it comes to his asking price at this point. And again, let's make a note too that we have not, as much as this story has dominated the headlines and exhausted them, to be honest, we have heard nothing from Ben Simmons. Not one word. Nothing.
Well, here's the other interesting part, Jenna. You say we haven't heard anything from Ben Simmons, right? Well, we know when we hear certain things, what camp it comes from, right? Who's putting it out, whatever. All this stuff we hear about, the Sixers are like convinced that James is going to leave in the offseason. They know that that's all coming from Daryl Morey, okay? That's coming from Morey and all his little media plants that like to put out stuff for him, okay? The Nets have been clear. We are not moving off of James Harden, right? And if they were to move off Harden, it's going to have to be for everything they want in return. Because remember, he's still under contract for them this season, right? That's number one. Number two, at the end of this season, Harden could become a free agent. He could also opt in to the money remaining, right? Here's the thing. The Nets own his bird rights, right? So if he wants the maximum dollars, he's going to have to sign with the Nets and do a sign and trade. Is it going to be as simple as, opt out and then go from Philly because you're going to leave money on the table. Jenna, when have you known an athlete to ever leave 10, 15, $20 million on the table? Like, I'm cool. I don't need to get that.
Nah. They scooping that all in the bag.
All that money getting that bag.
Literally, they will go on these standoffs, holdouts, everything that they call them, until this happens again.
Exactly.
It was never about the numbers, so don't.
And by the way, I want to be clear. I don't begrudge them. Take all the money that's owed to you.
Take it all of it. Yeah.
Right. So
just give us a sign, man. Give us a sign. Give us a sign. That's it. We can't stay in Philly forever because we got to go to Toronto. So bring your passport with you. Let's talk.
Oh, really quick, Jenna. On Brooklyn, though, what I would wish for them, health. I'd like them to have health. That's their biggest thing. They just need to be healthy. When they are healthy, listen, we saw what this team did last year in the postseason. They dismantled Boston, and we saw them. Now, remember, Harden got hurt literally the first play of the game in the second round against Milwaukee. And even without that, we saw them go up 2-0 on the Bucks and like, damn, imagine if they had Harden. So we know what this team could be if all three of them together. The thing that James might be feeling now is this just some hypothetical? And we're never going to see this team together. It's just if ifs, we're a fifth, right? Like if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, right? Like that's what this is. It's just a bunch of ifs and buts. But at some point, it's got to actually happen. And it hasn't. And that maybe it's frustrating, Harden.
It is. And if you think about it, it is very frustrating to sit there, and especially when the trade deadline is in 2 days, and watching all these teams make these moves and kind of play to win now and pick up pieces that they need to complete their rosters to contend, whether it's for the play-in tournament or for a championship in general. So it is frustrating. Do you sit by and watch this all happen? Do you try to make a move? It's a very interesting position Harden is in because clearly he can't carry the team on his back at the moment. And again, he is missing Durant and Kyrie. But I don't know if I'd be okay with this half in, half out thing too with Kyrie that he's doing here.
Oh, so, I definitely wouldn't be okay with it.
How could you? It's not fair.
It's not. Again, it isn't what I signed up for. It's one thing if a guy gets injured, right? It's like, all right, you can't control that. But you are voluntarily choosing not to be a full-time participant. Nah. Yeah. Not rocking with that.
I couldn't agree more. So, again, Brooklyn Nets, we'll see if they can climb out of that 8-game losing streak. However, I think this was a stat that I read, that a team that has gone through even a 7-game losing streak like this has not won a chip.
I mean, listen, first time for everything can happen, but like, not the way it's looking right now.
No, we shall see. Let's talk about the Toronto Raptors, because although they have been kind of hiding from the headlines a little bit and not making much noise in Toronto, there's a number 6 seed right now in the East, Jarod, and they're right under the Sixers there, who we just talked about. Joel Embiid is having an MVP-like season, and they're pretty much title contenders or heading in that direction at this point. So 29-23, above 500. Talk to me about the Raptors. What should they do? Do they need to make a move?
Jenna, I like what I'm seeing from Toronto right now. As you mentioned, 29 and 23, they are the number 13 team in adjusted net rating, top 13 offense, top 12 defense. I think they just need a center. They can get a legitimate center. Who that is, I don't know. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from Fred VanVleet, from Pascal Siakam. Scotty Barnes is a revelation as a rookie. They have the right pieces, and they're moving in the right direction, Jenna. If they can just get a legit big man, the Miles Turner thing there. Miles Turner's injured now, so that's kind of out. Sabonis has already gone to Sacramento. That would have been a nice place for him, because that's a legit scorer in the center position. But if they can get a legit big man, Kenrich Williams, although wasn't he recently moved? Rashawn Holmes, maybe. Again, a legit big man. That's I think what I would want for Toronto if I'm wishing something for the Raptors.
Absolutely. I think they're just one kind of piece away from really, really contending up there. So we'll see. And Fred VanVleet, number 3 in 3-pointers in the NBA.
Yeah, listen, Fred's...
I'm sorry. He's number 2 behind Steph Curry, not number 3. Number 3 is Buddy Hield.
Fred VanVleet, first year starting All-Star, like first time All-Star, first time starter. I mean, not a starter, excuse me. First time All-Star. This is fantastic. Kudos. Masai Ujiri, been doing a hell of a job up in Toronto, and we know about Nick Nurse. Pascal's playing like an All NBA guy again. Like this is good stuff, man.
Absolutely. Fred VanVleet, finding the success with Toronto. Love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
We already discussed the Brooklyn Nets. So any last words on them before I head to another East
Just health.
team?
That's all. Health.
That's right. I like to hear it. Let's talk about the Boston Celtics, number 8 seed in the East right now. And right now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, they'd be in the play-in tournament, 30-25 above 500. Are you still, because remember, we were very critical of this Celtics roster earlier on in the season about, were there too many cooks in the kitchen? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart. Talk to me about the Celtics. Do they need to add or subtract or both?
They're doing well, Jenna. Like they've come on strong here lately. They're winners of 5 in a row. They're probably going to make the Nets losers of 9 straight tonight in that game. They're number 7 in adjusted net rating. They have the number 3 defense in the entire NBA, according to adjusted defensive rating. That's phenomenal. Ime Udoka's got those guys guarding. To me, Jenna, like, the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum thing, I was kind of like, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Do these guys have an alpha issue? They seem to have things worked out. What they need is a point guard, someone who can create for everybody else. Marcus Smart's fine, but he's not that. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton would have been great on this team. That ain't happening. What other point guards are out there that they can get their hands on? Someone that can get them into their offense, right? Who can play make for others? Because while Brown and Tatum can play make, they're not quite as good at creating for others as they are for themselves, right? That's, I think, a piece that they're missing right now. But that's what I'd like for Boston. They can somehow find a point guard. Right.
How are you liking? How would you rate first-year head coach in Ime Udoka?
Look, he's doing well. They're 5 games above 500. Look, remember where they were, and they're in the 8th spot right now. They were, 10, 12? They were below 500. We're like, this is a disaster. They're bought in on the defensive end, right? He's got them playing great defense. I think the challenges you're seeing on offense right now is a little bit too much of like individual ball because, again, they don't have that person who can create and play make for everybody else and get everyone involved. They can find themselves a point guard. Listen, this is a team you probably don't want to play because anytime you got to deal with wings like Tatum and Brown in a 7-game series, they can win games by themselves, right? And that's the thing about the playoffs. So, yeah, that's Boston.
Interesting. They could find a point guard. There's a few floating around that I could think of. We'll chat about it. Let's talk about my New York Knicks because really, like I said, if the playoffs started tomorrow, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. Then again, man, they're not used to that. They did, Julius Randle led them there last season, but then,
I mean, but before that, they've been used to not making the playoffs.
Not since 2013 with Melo. So again, we're back. Are we taking a few steps back here? 24-30 below 500. The New York Knicks have got to get it together. I mean, Julius Randle hasn't been playing up to par. RJ Barrett has been pretty good, especially on the offensive end. Kemba Walker's still there, and they're figuring out his role. And what is this? Are we hearing trades about Alec Burks? Talk to me about what these New York Knicks need to do to kind of just even contend for a playing spot at this point. I'm not even talking about anything else.
I mean, Jenna, look, you got to move. Tibbs is still stuck on his guys, right? These veterans and, this grind it out. We got to win every game. And it's something I've been saying forever, Jenna, which is you got to turn the keys over to the young guys, right? It's time for RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, right? Quickly. These are the dudes that have to be getting the bulk of the minutes and the bulk of the playing time right now. Like Julius Randle last season was his high, right? I don't know that you're going to see another season like that from him again, right? And for him to replicate that. And it's challenging. And defensively, they're about middle of the pack right now. And they were, hovering around top 10 last year. I mean, top 8 at times. Offensively, they're in the bottom third of the league. They're 25th in adjusted offensive rating. And again, it's because Randle isn't hitting those tough threes, that he was hitting last year, right? And, 3-point shots got a high variance. So when your threes go in, it makes your offense look good. When it's not, well, now you're seeing, right? And I just think that, look, I think Randle's a good player, but I think this team would be better if RJ was more of the focal point offensively. Again, Obi Toppin, a lot of these guys. What I would have loved for them to do last year was sell high on Julius Randle, do a sign and trade, sign him and sell him last year, and trade him last year in the offseason. That would have been great. But they weren't able to do that. We'll see if they make any moves. I don't know. Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel. are two guys that have been, their names have been percolating around. So who knows? But honestly, at 24 and 30 in the 12 spot, sure, they can climb into 10, right? And do their thing. They're only a couple games behind Atlanta, but I mean, to do what? Get in the play-in and lose, or to get that 8 seed to be what, number 1 against the Heat, to get blown out because you ain't beating the Heat. This team ain't good enough to do that, right? You're not good enough to beat any of the teams in the top end of the Eastern Conference right now. So yeah. For the Knicks, I just kind of want Tibbs to kind of become a little more flexible in his philosophy.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good analysis of it too. And plus, I mean, this sounds kind of crazy, but a lot of people are bouncing around the idea of, trading Julius Randle, letting the young guys thrive, letting Obi Toppin get more time and thrive. So interesting takes there, but again, New York's fans especially are very protective of Julius Randle. We shall see though what happens in New York. They just need to really get it together. But a team that really doesn't need to get it together, in my opinion, the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, not the Buccaneers, as you heard in that betting segment. The reigning champion Bucks, and again, you guys know we told you this. They are at the Nets tonight, and as Jarod predicted, probably a 9-game losing streak at that point. But talk to me about the Bucks. Does anything even need to be done here, or do you think that they can actually make a clean run at a back-to-back?
They're at the Lakers tonight, Jenna. Remember, not the Celtics.
Lakers. I'm sorry.
All good. They
Green.
needed to do nothing. The Bucks need to do nothing. That team is perfectly fine the way it is. I mean, I guess Brook Lopez get back healthy, but honestly, like I think they're fine. Like I really do. Bobby Portis is giving them good minutes. You could always slide Giannis to the 5, and that makes him eat. He's already unguardable as it is, but Giannis is your 5 now. Gonna battering ram on teams. Listen, when Holiday, Giannis, and Middleton play, they're pretty much unstoppable this season. So defending champs, they need you to do what they're doing. They need to make sure they're healthy come postseason. And, given what's going on with Brooklyn, they should be able to romp through the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I mean, and then once you, thinking ahead, but once you get to the West, if the trend keeps going that the Lakers are on right now, I mean, hey, somebody in the East could luck out. Is all I'm saying. If you were traveling over to the West, again, you got to play the Suns and everybody
the
else
Warriors
in the mix, and of course the Dubs. But you never know how it's gonna pan out. That's why we love this league. But really quick, let's give Giannis his flowers too, because this man's shot has improved so much. I mean, the fact that we're seeing him shooting long threes, long jumpers, I mean, how well-rounded his game has gotten, and this man has not changed. I mean, the jokes that he's cracking online, you just said he was at Disney. Like, it's amazing. You love to see it. So, good situation there in Milwaukee. Let's move on to the number 3 seed in the East. I'm talking about the Chicago Bulls. We already had an episode nearly dedicated to them a couple weeks ago about how they were just thriving with DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, and the roster that they have there in the new culture that they're building in Chicago. So talk to me about them now. 33-21, well above 500. What does this team need to do? Because right now they're behind, again, the Bucks we just talked about, and the number 1 seed in the Heat. So
yeah, they need
tough trio here.
Yeah. They need to find their defensive identity again, Jenna. They're slipping on that end right now. They're 25th in adjusted defensive rating in the league, 4th in adjusted offensive rating. So that's great. They just need to get help. I mean, that's going to be the theme I'm going to be saying all day about a lot of teams is they need to get healthy. Caruso needs to get back healthy. They lost Derrick Jones Jr., Levine, everyone just needs to be healthy on this squad. If everyone's healthy and they get back to their defensive identity that they had, and they played some pretty good defense early on, I think they'll be fine. This team will be a tough outcome postseason. I don't know that there's any trade per se for them to make or to be made. Again, I just think health is the big thing with this squad.
Yeah, they need a couple of assets there. Not too much, but just something to get over that hump so they can really contend for a chip here. Could you imagine? Oh, man, the Chicago Bulls. What? All right. We got to go to a couple more complicated situations here, and we got to talk about Cleveland. And I'm just going to be the first to call myself out that I slandered this team so hard in the beginning of the season. I mean, including you, Kevin Love. You know I always loved you, buddy. But The Cleveland Cavaliers are building something special. I'm hopping on. I'm very convinced a little bit here. Not fully, but kind of. They acquired Karis LeVert earlier this week for Ricky Rubio, who went down with that ACL. As you guys know, we covered that in December. And they got 2 lottery protected first and 2 second rounders. So this is a good get here. And then this team, they're just building something special here. Kevin Love, I feel like, is finally settling into this role, this veteran role that he has there. And again, we're still without Colin Sexton, who went down with his separate knee injury there too. So talk to me, Jarod, a little bit about what the Cleveland Cavaliers need to do. 2 days to the trade deadline, but hey, I mean, they're already making moves.
They need to do nothing. I mean, they've already made their move, right? They got Karis LeVert as a wing scorer, right? And someone helped take the load off of Darius Garland, because right now he is our only offensive initiator and creator. LeVert can be with that second unit and help those guys out. Look, he reunites with Jarrett Allen from his Nets days. Look, you got the 3 7-footers in Allen Mobley and Lowry Markkanen. They're playing excellent ball right now. And Jenna, they're ahead of schedule. This team is young. They don't need to do anything. They are fine the way they are. You're a playoff team. Let's see now, when you get to the playoffs with this rock, again, this will be the first time in the playoffs for Garland, Mobley, Isaac Okoro, all these guys, right? Let's see. Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert have some playoff experience. Let's see how they do with their first taste of NBA playoff basketball. Because, Jenna, you know, and I know, we talk about it all the time, regular season ball is one thing. Playoff ball is a different situation, right? When a team gets the game plan for you and they know all your strengths and weaknesses and they want to exploit them, how do you counter? And this is great for Cleveland and head coach JB Bickerstaff to experience this. Again, they're ahead of schedule. Do nothing. This future is looking bright in Cleveland. Who the hell would have think you could say that a couple years ago?
Like I said, there's no easy way to put it. I was terrible to them in the beginning of the season.
Rightfully so. I mean, you were like, who's? And Kevin Love, again, to your point, what a reclamation project. He's got a ton of playoff experience. So I think that'll all be helpful for this squad. And the question is, can they win a playoff series? I mean, first of all, making the playoffs alone, this season they're already playing with house money right now. Season's already gravy. But Jenna, they win a playoff series? Oh my God. They're going to, again, these young guys are going to have that taste. Even if they get their asses kicked in round 2, they're going to be so hungry coming back next season.
And we talked about that too, that getting that playoff experience, even if you know you're not going to get that far, you're still getting that experience and figuring it out along the way, and it matures you as a player, especially with these young guys getting in there. So I'm really happy about that one. And let's talk about another blockbuster trade that went down today between the Indiana Pacers and the Sacramento Kings in the West, because this got a little crazy here. And of course, your girl was at the end of her workday and covered it because you know what's up, dedication. But let's talk about this because the Blazers Oh, I'm sorry. Did I mess up this right here? Oh, I'm sorry.
Pacers.
Pacers. Yes. Guys, what is wrong with me today? I'm telling you, I'm working 6 a.m. for the Olympics. It's a little nasty out here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of concealer on me. But let's talk about this now. The Pacers, they traded for 2-time All-Star in Domantas Sabonis, Jerry Lamb, and Justin Holiday. The Pacers traded them to Sacramento for Tyrese Halliburton. Big surprise there to a lot of people. Buddy Hield and Tristan Thompson. Yeah, you guys heard about him lately. So you know how that goes out there in those streets. You know what I'm saying? And it got crazy out here. Now, a lot of people would argue that the Pacers won this trade by a mile, especially getting Halliburton, who is an incredible young guard, playmaker, scorer, all that jazz. And of course, Buddy Hield, I mentioned, is top 3 in three-pointers, great offensive player there. And talk to me about this trade, Jarod. Would you say the Pacers won?
I mean, look, everyone loves Tyrese Halliburton. Buddy Hield is a great shooter. And it looks like Indiana, of course, with the Miles Turner injury, they opted to move Sabonis. LeVert was already sent away to Cleveland. And Holiday and Jeremy Lamb. So it looks like the rebuild is happening around Miles Turner. He looks like he's going to get a little bit more focal point of the offense. I think they're going to go a full 5-out offense with space, creating, shooting. And Indiana's going to see what they got. Look, let's just be clear right now. This is for the future, right? I mean, Indiana ain't. Yeah. I mean, they're 6 games out of the play-in, right? So, I mean, 7 games, out of the play-in. So, I mean, sure, Rick Carlisle can start building a culture there and I think that's what this is about. It's about Carlisle building a culture with Halliburton, hopefully with Buddy Hield, and see what they get in the draft coming up this summer, and build around Turner and see what they have. But it's clearly that they're rebuilding, and they think that Halliburton is going to be a big piece of that. So kudos to the Pacers.
Absolutely. Again, they made some serious moves. And like you said, this is a longevity move for them at this point at 13th in the East there. So, again, good things happening there. Slow and steady wins the race. Rick Carlisle, we wish you the best of luck, buddy. Let's talk talk about another team that slow and steady maybe wins the race, the Detroit Pistons. Jarod, what needs to be done to the Pistons? Is it even salvageable at this point? The 14th seed in the East, 12-41.
I mean, look, Coach Dwayne Casey just needs to build around his guys. Cade Cunningham, right? Isaiah Stewart, like the young guys, right? They need to figure out is Jeremy Grant someone they're keeping, or are they going to move him? Move Grant, get some more younger players, get some more draft capital, because they're building for the future here. That's what's going on in Detroit. We are building for the future. So.
Yeah,
we'll see.
What a humbling rookie year for Cade Cunningham in that #1 draft pick.
Life comes at you fast.
It really does. Not a better quote to talk about than that one. Okay, let's go down to South Beach and take our talents there. Oh, throwback Thursday. But the Miami Heat, the #1 team in the East, red hot, 35-20, doing great things in the 305 with Jimmy Butler and the crew there. Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo, of course, we love him. But is he's still sidelined? So no, he's back. Actually,
he's back. Bam's back. Bam's
back. And I remember saying that to somebody too. I was like, wow, he got back much quicker than I had thought. But talk to me about this team here, because they didn't slow down with Bam out of the lineup, which is very important because he is a key piece to on both ends of the floor for this team. So talk to me about the Heat. Do they need to even make a move?
Jenna, Miami Heat, #1 team in the Eastern Conference. They are 5th in adjusted net rating, 8th in adjusted offensive rating, and 6th in adjusted defensive rating. I mean, when you're top 10 in both offense and defense, it's just they're one of 3 teams who are top 10 in both. The Phoenix Suns are the other one, and the Memphis Grizzlies are the others, right? Only 3 teams in top 10 in offense and defense, according to dunks and threes. The thing for me with the Miami Heat is Spo is a phenomenal coach, right? They had no Jimmy and no Bam for much of this first. I mean, we're past the halfway point of the season already, right? Much past the first half of the season, and they are still the #1 team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, hell of a job by Spo. What concerns me for them come postseason, and what I am looking to, is can they get some help on the wing? I just feel like they don't have another wing score. And listen, we always talk about that. We need more wing score. Yeah, everyone needs a wing score. The problem is they don't grow on trees, right? You're not going to find Kevin Durant's and LeBron's just kind of hanging out. That's just not a thing, right? But they need another wing offensive initiator and creator, and I just don't know where they find that. So for the playoffs, to me, in a series against Milwaukee, potentially, Milwaukee's got 2 offensive initiators, right, out on the perimeter in Giannis and Chris Middleton, right? And Drew Holiday, we know what he can do, right? I feel like the Heat need one more piece on the wing. And look, if you're going to tell me Bam's going to give you 25 a night, okay, cool. And he's consistently going to knock down that 18 to 20 footer, fine, I'm good. But I don't know that that's going to be true. So, that's what they need to me. And they need another offensive creator out on the wing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyler Hero has been a great asset off the bench too. And this Heat team has that deep playoff experience, of course, as we know. We watched them in the bubble and beyond. And of course, you have Kyle Lowry, who's obviously won a chip himself. So again, I have more faith in them taking things to the postseason and really taking care of business this time. Usually I've been shaky in the past, but again, we shall see about the Heat. That covers the Eastern Conference. So let's move to.
No, we're not done. We got more teams. We got the rest of that.
Oh my God, what is wrong with me today? Wait, guys. In my defense, I accidentally just leaned on the space bar and it pushed all the teams. Guys, it's
all good. It's all good. It happens. It's all good.
All right. Let's talk about the Charlotte Hornets now, because I feel like the Charlotte Hornets can make a move here and should capitalize on something, but I'm not sure exactly what it could be right now. But, we have new all-star in LaMelo Ball, so congrats to him. Named on the injury reserve list, but however, it's still an all-star spot. So talk to me about these Hornets led by Ball, because I think he needs another key piece.
Yeah, the question is, right, is Miles Bridges enough? Is Gordon Hayward enough, right? Like, I feel like this is the challenge, right? Like, can they do enough to kind of move them out of that 9 spot? Right now, they are 2.5 games behind. 1.5, excuse me, behind Toronto for that 6th seed. Right? Can they improve on that? Maybe we'll see. I don't know. 2.5, excuse me. See, bad day for me, math too. I just don't know what the move is, right? I don't know. And what do they want to give up, right? Because Bridges seems like a guy you want to keep, right? Maybe Hayward's the piece you move. Okay, but if you move Hayward, what are you getting? What are you getting in return for Hayward, right? Like, that's going to vault you over the top, because Hayward is your one guy on here who's got playoff experience, who is, again, another wing offensive initiator and creator, right? Like, again, I don't know if you want to give those kinds of players up unless whatever you're getting in return is going to set you up for long-term and for the future. And I just don't know what that move is right now.
No, I agree. I mean, hey, if you don't know, we know I don't know. Let's be serious here. I mean, look at me today. Anybody who's listening to this, bear with me, man. All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks, the Trae Young Atlanta Hawks. He is still doing his thing down south, but it's not helping them like I thought it would this season. Like, I was riding this high. They're in the number 10 seed right now, just below 500. I mean, Jarod, what needs to be done in Atlanta?
Jenna, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. When Trae came out with the whole, like, it's hard to get up for the regular season, after what we've accomplished, I told you, and I've said it multiple times, I sound like a broken record. That, to me, set a bad tone for this entire season. Like, my guy, you didn't accomplish shit. You went to 1 conference finals. Like, congrats. But the elite and the excellent all-time players, why they are what they are is because they do that over and over and over, repeatedly. Yeah. Chris Paul talked about this early in the season, Jenna, when he was it's his TNT game, and he was like, you guys know how it is in the league. People always say, you got this, you got that. He's like, look, you got to play who's in front of you, right? Like, you gotta be who's on the schedule, and you got to play who is in front of you. And that's something, and this is Chris Paul, a 13, 14-year NBA veteran, right? At this stage of his career, longer than that, 15. But he is, and shout out to Coach Thorpe, he is finding joy in the merry-go-round, right? Everyone loves the playoffs. The playoffs are great. Yeah, it's the roller coaster. Highs, lows, but Coach Thorpe always says, get off the roller coaster and find the joy in the merry-go-round. That's the regular season. The regular season's the merry-go-round. Listen, man, you got to find ways to do the good. What are we building on? What are our habits? What are the things we're doing in this, and it's hard. I know, 82 games. You can tell when the players are like gassed and ready for the All-Star break and ready to I get all that. But the teams that do well find the joy in the regular season. Look at the Phoenix Suns, man. They're out here winning at a crazy clip. Look at the Miami Heat. Look at the Golden State Warriors, right? Like, listen, these teams are out here to go because they know, yeah, we know the playoffs are what matters, but we have to make sure we're doing the right things now to prepare ourselves. And Atlanta, they're just not there yet. Honestly, they have what they need because they went to the conference finals last year. What they need is on the roster. It's just not performing up to its level right now. And, I think, again, there's some injuries and some other things happen. But, again, the tone that was set by their leader, Trae Young, at the beginning of the season was not the right tone to set.
Oh, I love when you stick by your points. I get that nostalgia, and I'm like, damn. All right, moving on. The Washington Wizards. Not good news for them today on February 8th. We got news and word that Bradley Beal will be out for season-ending surgery on that wrist injury that he's been dealing with. This is the worst-case scenario we were not hoping for. So that's your star player. That's your franchise face. So they should be looking fast to fill this void. And I'm talking a void in scoring leadership. And the list goes on. And again, the Wizards aren't exactly in a contending spot, 11th seed in the East. But hey, I mean, you could at least be in the playoffs. They're just below mid 500. So what could we do in Washington to fill this Bradley Beal void? Not that you're going to fully fill that void, but still.
Well, it's interesting, Jenna, because, Bradley Beal's name has come up a lot in trade rumors. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? GM Tommy Shepard has been very clear about, Brad wants to stay here. We want to keep him, all that. We do remember that there was, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, sort of talk in the locker room about sort of Spencer Dinwiddie's leadership style not being appreciated. And where was that coming from? Was that Beal? Was that KCP? Was that Kuzma? What's happening there? I think without Beal now, what you're going to see is a chance to get a look at this team with Dinwiddie as sort of the lead ball handler guy, right? Playing with Kuzma, KCP, and Bryant and Hachimura and all these young guys, and see, well, what do we have here? Like what Denny Avdia, et cetera. What is this team and what are we? Right? Are we going to try to fight our way into the play-in? Are we? Coach Thorpe talks to me about building culture, right? Sometimes I'm always like, man, it's not happening this year. Let's just reset. But sometimes it's about, hey, let's build good habits and see what we can do. So maybe, Wes Unseld Jr. head coach, it's about continuing to build his program, build the habits he wants this team to have. And at the end of, the regular season, Jenna, we'll see where the chips fall. Maybe they'll be right there at that 10 spot in that play-in, and they'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm really interested to see how the Wizards move forward after the absence of Beal and how Dinwiddie handles it, just because, we saw those comments about him saying that his leadership style wasn't so much accepted in the locker room. So I wonder if there's some noise happening there. We'll see. Not trying to start rumors, but, I love a good narrative. The Orlando Magic.
There's nothing to say here. Look, they're building for the future. Move on.
Yeah. Okay. Time to go to the West. It's been a little cold in the East. So let's talk about the Utah Jazz. I just always feel stuck when I talk about the Utah Jazz because I feel like they're just something away from progressing. And I feel like that's kind of a theme with them. So again, let's talk Jazz. And they're not doing bad. Number 4 seed in the West right now, 33-21 above 500. Of course, right behind those Warriors, Suns, and Grizzlies. Woo! Grizzlies. But anyway, we'll get to them. Jazz, let's talk about it. What do they need to do? Does D. Mitch need somebody?
Oh, look, we're still here. We're hearing rumblings again that Donovan and Rudy's relationship isn't great. They lost Joe Ingles for the season. Look, and that's going to make it harder to do something. What they need is defensive help right now. They're fine offensively. Number one, according to adjusted offensive rating in the NBA. A defense has slipped to 16th. All right. And this was once a top defense, top 5 defense. Their perimeter defenders are just weak and lacking. And now that Ingles is gone, that was a piece you could have potentially moved. Because I was always thinking for them, what would be nice? Give away some of that offense to get better defensively, particularly at the point of attack on the wing, because that's their challenge. We know how great Rudy is controlling the paint, but at the perimeter, when you got to play Ingles, Bogdanovich, and Donovan together, listen, those guys aren't exactly world beaters on defense, right? And they get beat often at the point of attack. So if I'm Utah, I'm looking at what can I do, to shore up my perimeter defense and look ahead to the if they flame out again, which this doesn't look like a team right now to me, Jenna, that's going to advance to a conference finals. You got to think about what, is Donovan going to be like, get me out of here. I'm done with this. Like, I just,
Right. You have to think of those scenarios too, because hey, when you just hit a type of plateau like that, you never know. Let's move on now. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets because they're making some noise. Number 6 seed in the West. What needs to go on with the Nuggets here, though?
They just got to get healthy, Jenna. Can we just, look, this is not about this. This is more about, what do we wish for every team? So yes, I wish health for them. But can we just talk about Nikola Jokic? I talked about Embiid and how he's playing like the MVP, but I also said how it can go back and forth. Some days I think it's Embiid. Sometimes I think it's Jokic. Just want to give you Jokic's advanced numbers right now. According to estimated plus minus, he is plus 9.6. That is number 1 in the NBA by a full 2 points per 100 possessions. The next closest person is 7.6. That's LeBron James and Steph Curry tied. Then Giannis is 7.1 and Joel Embiid at 7. Like, what Jokic is doing is absurd. Okay? Like, Think about it. Their second and third best players, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., out. Have not played all season. And for them to be above 500 and in the playoffs, that is strictly because of how great Jokic is. He has been phenomenal. So for them, Jenna, I just want health. And, maybe we're hearing Michael Porter Jr. could potentially be back by the playoffs. Murray, it's looking like that could happen as well. So we'll see. It's just a shame that if, another great season from Jokic, potentially would get wasted because of injuries. But, it's part of the game, unfortunately.
Right, it is. And, Jokic is having such a career season. So, again, you hate to see it. But, not the end of the world, not too late yet. Let's move on here and get through the West and talk about the Minnesota Timber Puppies. Because they're making a little splash right below the Nuggets in the number 7 seed.
They're doing well, Jenna. Look, Minnesota's out here like, we're going to make the playoffs. Like, they're grinding, right?
They would
and
today.
Here's the thing. They're a game behind Denver at 6, right? You got Karl-Anthony Towns. You got Anthony Edwards, right? You got D'Angelo Russell. Look, you got guys. You got pieces. They're playing well. 3 games above 500, right? Their net rating is now positive. I want to pull it up right now to see where they at or where they are in terms of net rating. Minnesota, where are we? They are number 12 in adjusted net rating. Look at that. 12th in adjusted offensive rating, 14th in adjusted defensive rating. Listen, let me give you these stats. They are, as I said, 12th in adjusted net rating. They're ahead of the Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, and Brooklyn Nets in terms of adjusted net rating.
Oof.
Hey, so, and in a year where the West is kind of down, right? Listen, let's find a way. They don't need to do anything. They just need to continue to play good ball, buy into what Coach Finch is preaching over there, and give your fans a chance, right? Like, especially with the team above them, Denver, the 16, being a one-man band, right? It's just Jokic, right? So if they could find a way to sneak themselves into that 6, kudos. Or if you just get in the play-in, right? Just get into the play-in. Hell of a time for Minnesota.
Damn, I like what I see. I didn't even expect them to be doing this well. So, hey, kudos to the Timber Puppies. Let's talk about the Portland Trailblazers, because as much as they weren't active in the last free agency, they are super active right now ahead of the trade deadline. And I'm talking about how they acquired this week Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, Nickeila Alexander Walker, and Didi Louzada in 2 seconds. I mean, they also traded away Damian Lillard's good friend and backcourt buddy in CJ McCollum, but we'll talk about that down the line. Let's stick with the Trailblazers, because we have Damian Lillard here, who Woj has reported the Trailblazers are building around and focus on him. Huh. Okay. Do you believe that?
Come on, Jenna. What are we talking about here? Building around. Listen.
What?
Come on, man. Look, this is a full-on rebuild, right, going on. And if you're Dame, you have to ask yourself, okay, it is clear winning a championship in this town with this organization is not happening, right? Like Dame and CJ, and when CJ just came back before he got traded to the Pelicans, both of them being out allowed Anthony Simons to develop. Well, guess what? That may be a nice little young piece for them to have, right? By the way, they sent away Robert Covington and Norman Powell to the Clippers, right? So, and they got back Justice Winslow, Eric Bledsoe. Like, look, you know what? Those are all expiring contracts and contracts that can get moved, because they are on a full rebuild. They could have potentially $60 million in cap space this summer, and they have a $20-something million trade exception. Look, none of that's going to be enough to get Portland. I mean, Portland that's no NBA free agency hotbed. How many free agents line up to be like, yeah, let me go to Portland? No. So they're rebuilding. And the other thing, too, is, are we sure that we know what the status of this team is long-term? Does Jody Allen want to keep this team, or does she want to sell it? Right? Like, there's a lot going on. Listen, it's tear down time, end of an era in Portland, rebuild, let Dame go somewhere where he has a chance to win, and you guys get back what you can for him. And again, let's start this whole thing over.
Right. I think, really quick, last note, just a theory, but I mean, it's probably not even a theory. It's pretty much seems evident. in my opinion. I obviously believe that Dame got the surgery because he knew the rebuild was coming. And I feel like that's why he's kind of not correcting those rumors or whatever now that they're building around him and blah, 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 and all this stuff. I think this is to set him up to go to a good destination. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, you could be dead on. I mean, writing's on the wall, and the question is where that is, but that's a conversation for a different day.
Exactly. Let's talk about OKC because, yeah, it's quiet down there in the number 14 seed, 17 and 36.
I mean, look, we know what they're doing, right? They are tanking to get that number 1 pick so they can rebuild, right? It's just, this is what's happening. No need to talk about Oklahoma City. They have a ton of draft capital, a ton of cap space. Their hope is that they're going to make some moves this offseason to then, pair with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and who they can be a playoff team and a solid, long-term contender going forward. But nothing happening this year for them.
When you go to OKC, there's just be a sign that says, like, welcome to OKC, where, like, it's a pit stop and careers are, massaged and developed here and then to send you away. Now, a team that I do want to talk about is the Phoenix Suns, the number 1 team in the West. I mean, hey, it's looking real good out there in the desert with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and co. And, I mean, this is looking like a serious title team right now at this point.
I mean, they're the best team in the league to me right now, Jenna. And my wish for them is just, I want them to be healthy come postseason because I want to see this team at full strength make it run it back. So I think they are the best team in the West. They might be the best team in the league. I think they could, if they have a rematch with Milwaukee, I think they found out some things about themselves that they could potentially use to win this time around. So yeah, look, again, I keep throwing it out. Another wing might be nice, but again, everyone would like that, right? I just think that I would not break up what they have to do that, right? They have everything they need right now to be a team that wins the championship.
Oh, I hope so. We shall see. Chris Paul, we're rooting for you, buddy. You need a ring. Okay, let's talk about the Los Angeles Clippers because they acquired Robert Covington and Norman Powell.
We skipped the Warriors?
Oh, sorry.
All good.
What else is there to talk about? Number 2 seed in the West, the Warriors. I mean, hey, they just got Clay back. Really?
They got Clay back. I think, look, they just need Draymond to get healthy because while they're winning without him in the regular season, they're not going to advance in the postseason without a healthy Draymond. So they're going to need the anchor of their defense back. And it looks like James Wiseman, he had his first contact since this injury. So it looks like he might have a chance to join the team down the stretch. What he looks like and what happens with that in terms of, his ability to play with this squad remains to be seen. But, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's the Warriors.
Yeah, you like to see it, Draymond replaced for the All-Star game, but speedy recovery on his end. Just ink that huge Turner deal. He'll be fine. Anyway, Los Angeles Clippers, like I was saying before I messed that up, my 10 slip-up of the day, they acquired Robert Covington and Norman Powell. I like these pickups, especially with the squad that they have with Coach Ty Lue there. Any word on Kawhi coming back? What are we doing in LA?
It's not looking like Kawhi is coming back and this season, and Coach Lue said, he's praying for the MRI on Paul George. But look, kudos to Coach Ty Lue, man. This squad, 27 and 28, they're one game below 500, but they're in the 8th spot right now. He's doing a hell of a job coaching this team without their 2 top guns. And getting Covington and Powell, as you said, excellent additions. If George can come back post All-Star break, listen, this team, they're only 3 games back of the 6th seed. They can claw their way in there and get into that top 6. And continue to build that culture with these young guys that they have right now with Terrence Mann and Zubac and all these guys. I like what I see from them. So kudos to Coach Ty Lue. It'd just be nice. Again, broken record, health. That's what would be nice for these teams. Health.
Right, exactly. So praying for everybody. So let's not go too far and talk about the Lakers, the ailing Lakers, the geriatric Lakers. We've heard it all. But what do the Lakers need to do? I mean, they basically went and cleaned house and got a new roster, a little older roster of Hall of Famers, but that hasn't seemed to work out this season. Then again, LeBron James has been riddled with injury. And, of course, the team is dealing with COVID protocols that have seemed to fizzle more so in recent days, but injury seems to be plaguing them. Anthony Davis isn't up to par of what we thought he would be injury-wise. So What do these Lakers need to do? Do they even have any money at this point? Is the luxury tax flowing? What's happening?
The Lakers have nothing because they have no assets to trade that anybody wants, and they are over the tax.
Malik Monk is your number 3 guy.
Right. Look, they are what they are. If they're going to be anything better than the 9th seed right now, and they're 9th, they are 3.5 games behind the Nuggets. If they're going to be anything but a play-in team, Anthony Davis is going to have to play much better, right? And LeBron's going to have to not be injured. They are 22nd right now in adjusted net rating at -2.1. They're 24th in adjusted offensive rating and 17th in adjusted defensive rating. I mean, that's all you need to know right there. They have when they were winning the championship in the bubble 2 years ago, and when they finished the regular season before the injuries happened, they were the number 1 defense in the league. They are now, what did I just tell you? They are number 17. Well, that's quite the fall, right? Like you are not going to be doing what they want to do as an organization, which is win championships with that kind of defense and that putrid offense. It is what it is. Again, Davis is going to have to be playing like he is the best player in the world. And he's been not that thus far. So they are what they are.
Facts. A lot of adversity for the Lakers there. Let's talk about the Sacramento Kings. We mentioned them before because they were obviously involved in that trade we spoke about with the Pacers. Now, sticking with the Kings side of the deal, they acquired a 2-time All-Star in Domantas Sabonis, Jerry Lamb, Justin Holiday, and a second for Halliburton and Hield and Thompson, like we had mentioned before. So talk to me about the Kings. Obviously, they made moves. I said that a lot of people were predicting that the Pacers had won this deal. But what are your thoughts on their side of the coin?
I guess they decided they're going all in on De'Aaron Fox. I mean, cool, I guess. Look, Jenna, the Kings are 20-35. They are currently 13th. I just like, what do you think you're doing? I'll give you some stats for them. 26th in adjusted net rating, 19th in adjusted offensive rating, 29th in adjusted defensive rating. For those of you that don't know, there are 30 teams in the NBA. They're 29th in adjusted defensive rating. Yeah. They're in the bottom third in adjusted net and defense. Look, you know I love Domas. He's my guy. But the Kings are a dumpster fire of a franchise. Like, they're horrible. I just don't know what these moves are going to do to help them do what? Get into the play-in? Like how? I just
haven't made the postseason since 2003.
Jenna, I'm sorry. I just don't see it. Like they are currently 2 games back of the 10 seed. So I guess they can fight and claw and get that 10 seed. But okay, then what? Right? Like you're going to get a game, maybe 2. And you have to win those, right? To then win 3 games or whatever to get to the playoffs. And your gift is the number 1 seed Phoenix Suns, where you will get demolished in 4, right? Like, everything needs to change about Sacramento. Like literally everything.
Oh my gosh! Again, one of the original dumpster fires. So at least it gives us a little nostalgia on the show for those reasons. But hey, gotta do what you gotta do, and the Kings are doing something. I just don't know what it is. Let's move on to our guy, Ja Moran, and the Grizzlies, because right now Ja's leading them with the number 3 seed in the West, which is incredible to me how they have climbed this ladder in the West. Above 500, of course, above the Jazz and those other contenders there. Right below, again, top 2 teams in the Suns and the Warriors. Talk to me about the Grizzlies. Do they need to add a piece?
No, I think the Grizzlies are good the way they are. If it's going to break up, look, unless the piece is a difference maker, right? And the name I've thrown out for a while has been Jaylen Brown, right? And I feel like Jaylen Brown as a wing is someone who, because that's a borderline all-star right there. He is someone, it's like, okay, you want to tell me I got to give up Desmond Bane and Dylan Brooks maybe and some draft capital? Okay. I would consider that, right? Like, but it's got to be someone who I know is a wing scorer who can guard, who can create in a playoff setting. That's it. But if you're telling me to do it for like Jeremy Grant or like that doesn't move the needle enough for me. The Grizzlies are, listen, the core with Ja Morant, our guy Tripp, Desmond Bane, Zaire Williams, Xavier Tillman. I mean, they just, I love this team, as you know. They're playing so well. I just want them to keep riding what they're doing. Number 3 in the West, as you mentioned. Number 6 in adjusted net rating. Number 5 in adjusted offensive rating. Number 9 in adjusted defensive rating. I mean, they're outstanding. So kudos to the Grizz.
Yeah, love what we're seeing there. Let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks. Again, right there, the number 5 seed, 2 below the Grizzlies there, and sandwiched with the Jazz right there. Let's talk about the Mavericks too, because there was a lot of turmoil within this organization at the start of the season, especially behind the scenes there. And again, they had some coaching changes, front office changes, things of that nature. And again, Mark Cuban-led team. But do they need to make some moves? Does Mark need to get up on a Shark Tank game here before the trade deadline?
So Jason Kidd is transforming the defense, right? They are number 5 in adjusted defensive rating. They are guarding the heck out of people right now. I like what this team is. I think the Luka Kristaps thing is still kind of weird, right? And losing Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to hurt them in terms of just someone who can like ostensibly get his own shot and score, right? Again, come playoff time, you need as many people as possible who can do that. Jalen Brunson's been a nice add for them. But I feel like, again, they need a little bit more in the offensive creation category. But again, where does that exist? Who is that? And where do they find it? They're doing well for what they are right now. 5th in the East, as you mentioned. Yeah, they may try to make some moves on the margins, but I don't know if there's anything blockbuster out there for them.
Okay, I hear you. Now, let's move on to these Pelicans, because we got to talk about them. Again, another dumpster fire. Like we have been telling you guys, we haven't seen Zion Williamson after he had that setback in rehab for his foot injury after surgery there. So they have acquired a couple people here, a little CJ McCollum, backcourt with Dame from Portland there, Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell, again, in that trade that we had talked about earlier with, excuse me. Sorry. I'm stroking. But anyway, talk to me, Jarod, here, because do we need to see a move being made here at all? Or
I mean, kudos to the Pelicans. They started this season 1-10 or something like that. They were atrocious.
They were bad.
The Zion thing is still, I don't know what's happening there. And they're currently in the play-in, right? What are they, 10th? Are they 12th?
Right now they're 10th.
They're 10th.
Right now they're 10th.
They're right at the edge. I mean, cool, I guess. Look, I wish I knew what David Griffin and company were doing down there. The big thing is, the big piece around this is like, okay, you got CJ's got that veteran kind of scoring presence. You got Valanciunas. All right. But Zion's the key. Like, what is going on with that? Like, is he coming back this season? Like,
right.
It's been so strange what's been going on down there. What I would wish for that team is clarity of vision and mission to know what is it that we are doing and what is our plan. That is what I wish for them.
Give us somewhat of a blueprint here. Anything. We haven't heard much since a few weeks back. We got that setback from Zion, that notice from the Pelicans. So we'll see. Again, anything that you do know about this trade is that if CJ McCollum is going anywhere, it's going to be an incredible environment in that locker room, within the team, his leadership, and the list goes on. Good guy right there. Good get in that type of good locker room guy, which apparently the Pelicans do need, according to the news this season. But again, we don't have time to talk about their drama. So let's talk about the Spurs. What do they need to do? Them and Coach Pop. Congrats to DeJounte Murray on that all-star nod as well.
Yeah, I think they need to figure out if we're going with the kids, DeJounte and,
the kids.
Well, I mean, right. If you're going DeJounte, Lonnie Walker, if that's your team of the future, okay, we move in Jakob Hurtle. What are we doing here? This limbo space that they're in, like, I just, nothing great about it, right? Like, I just don't know what the end game is for San Antonio, right? They're 12th seed right now, number 17 in adjusted net rating. They're 14th in adjusted offensive rating, 18th in adjusted defensive rating. They're just a little bit below average, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's kind of the results you're getting. Like, is DeJounte, can he make another leap to be like a different? I mean, he's had a hell of a year, right? Like, right. Devin Vassell, is he someone that you think you can build around? If it's about turning it over to all the young kids, then it's time to clear out all that veteran, contracts and get yourself some more draft capital and decide to fully commit. The question is, Pop is in his 70s, right? So it's like, does he want to be a part of that? Probably not. So really, they're probably waiting on whatever the Pop decision is going to be.
Right. And yeah, I mean, hey, we'll see and keep an eye on the Spurs there for that kind of update there. Let's move on and talk about the Houston Rockets. Do we need to talk about the Houston Rockets?
I mean, look.
What can we do there? I mean, hey, they got Jalen Green.
Yeah, they got Jalen Green. I mean, that's really all you can say, right?
They have someone to build around.
28th in adjusted net rating, 26th in adjusted offensive rating, 30th in adjusted defensive rating. Look, this is a rebuild. We know that. Their job right now is figuring out, well, what are they going to do to John Wall? That's what I wish them. I would wish clarity on the John Wall situation to figure out what you're going to do there to let that man play ball somewhere else. Instead of keeping him on the bench and not doing any, not even on the bench, keeping him away from the facility and locked away from playing basketball. Free John Wall, let him go somewhere where he can play ball, and you guys continue to acquire your draft capital and do what it is you're doing. But Houston is what it is.
Yes, it is. And that concludes our breakdown and preview a little bit of what we want to see go on with these teams. All 15 in the East and West. We got it covered for you guys. And thanks to Jarod for his amazing analysis, per usual. And I don't have anything to say that I contributed today, except for a couple flubs.
You were great. Listen, it's the end of a long day. These things happen. It's like we are limping towards the All-Star break, much like a lot of these teams are, right? Mm-hmm. So, folks, you know where to find us. We are part of the Props Network. Thank you so much to them. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 7footerspod, at 7footerspodcast. Make sure you're following us there. It is, of course, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemon Selly. Look, and, All-Stars right around the corner, and, we're going to head towards that home stretch soon. So until next time, guys, peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't want to trap what some man gon' do.